Good afternoon, Rotarians, friends, and guests. My name is Becky Fields, and I am president of the Rotary Club of Tulsa, and it is my privilege to welcome you today. Let's begin our program with an invocation from past President Bob Sade, song and pledge from past President Matt Davis, visitor introductions from DJ Morrow Ingram, and new member introductions from Matthew Bristow.
Please join me in prayer. Heavenly Father, we ask for divine guidance as we stand before you today as dedicated Rotarians with the goal of serving those in need. Open our eyes to those who suffer so that we may see where we can be of service. Open our minds so that we can create unique and relevant solutions to the problems facing our world. And open our hearts that we may find the compassion to reach out and touch the lives of others in a way that brings joy to both them and us. Amen.
I promised Tina, our fearless leader, that we would sing One Meatball this morning, but I don't know the words as well as she does, so let's do the national anthem. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light, as the proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watch as the gallantly sing, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good afternoon. Just got handed some last-minute cards here, so let me get them organized. We have a lot of guests today, and it is so wonderful to see you all here. Thank you, Dana, for bringing so many people here to visit with us. I'm going to ask, as I call your name and your host, please stand, please hold your applause until we get through everybody. We don't want to show any favorites, and we want to make sure that we give our guest speaker plenty of time. So, I'm still trying to separate the Rotarians from the guests. I have Tina, just stand and stay standing. Tina Murtha, guest of Jenny Hammock. Tina, you got to stand. Stacy Leffler, guest of Jenny Hammock. Lee Murray, guest of Jerry Barrientos. Maggie Cunningham, guest of Jerry Barrientos. Christian Jarvis, guest of Brian Bovard. Susie Bogle, guest of Becky. I think it's Ram Disabar, and if I mess that up, I apologize. Guest of Stevie Cesaris. I probably messed both of those up. Angela Byers, guest of Jerry Barrientos. Jerry's been busy. Kristen Seapack, guest of Jerry Dillon. Oh, that was a visiting Rotarian, so hold on that one. Shelley Shoemaker, guest of Dana Weber. Lisa Turner, guest of Becky Fields. Amy Fortna, guest of Jerry Barrientos. Lynn Flynn, guest of Jerry Barrientos, there's a theme. Pam Fry, guest of John O'Connor. Sherry Kosa, guest of Chuck Wilson. Denise Dillon, guest of Jerry Dillon. Roxanne Bilby, it doesn't say who your host is, but welcome to join us anyway. Claudia Shelley, guest of Jim Campos. Monica Champ, guest of David Wagner. Kathleen Pence, guest of Jerry Barrientos. Megan Geisler, guest of Jerry Barrientos. I should have grouped these by the Jerry guests. Brittany Armour, guest of Jerry Barrientos. Grace and Shelley Strickland, guest of Duff Waddell. China Pazzo, guest of Brenda Millicon. Carla Taylor, guest of Jerry Barrientos. This is so hilarious. Patty Pottinger, it looks like, and I'm probably not saying that right, guest of Jerry Barrientos. Kelly Durkee, guest of Jerry Barrientos. Leah Whitehotter, oh, that's probably not right, but guest of Jerry Barrientos. And Michael Ethered, guest of Dana Weber. Oh, that's not quite done. I still have one last Tate Cavett, guest of Kevin Murray. Had to get a man in there. So thank you for coming, all of our guests. We can applaud now. We are thrilled to have you here. We have a few visiting Rotarians. So if you'll stand and we'll say hello to you. Cole Adamson from Sunrise Rotary. Hi, Cole. Ben Gorell, doesn't say what club. Hi, Ben. Father Clark Shackelford from Sand Springs. Hi, Father, or Ben. And Kristen, I said this one before, Kristen C. Peck, she's a visiting Rotarian from Sand Springs. Welcome, Kristen. So thank you so much for joining us today. We know that you'll enjoy it, and we hope to see you back again.
Hi everyone, I have the honor today of introducing our newest member, and Luann is also with me, who introduced Keith to our club. Keith Elder is a former president of the Sunshine Rotary in Plymouth, Massachusetts. He's also been an active Rotarian in Rochester, New York, and Aspen, Colorado, so highly qualified, more so than myself, to be here. Keith recently moved to Tulsa to become the new executive director of the Tulsa Symphony Orchestra. And Luann asked me if I saw the symphony play this weekend, and I didn't, but she told me it was fabulous. So, thank you. As an educator, a little about Keith's background. As an educator, musician, arts advocate, and attorney, Keith comes to the Tulsa Symphony from the Aspen Music Festival in Aspen, Colorado, where he served as general manager and vice president. While with the music festival, he oversaw the day-to-day operations of the festival, including 690 students, 170 faculty, 150 staff, and over 300 public concerts and events over the 8 weeks of the festival. Prior to his time in Aspen, he was director of concert activities at the Eastman School of Music, vice president general manager with the Detroit Symphony, and held many positions with the Boston Symphony and Boston Pops. While working in Boston, he managed multiple national and international tours of the orchestra, including a Super Bowl, Ryder Cup, Red Sox, and the musical production of multiple national television broadcasts and soundtracks. As a musician himself, Keith studied tuba performance at Indiana University School of Music and has performed at Tanglewood as principal tuba with the Plymouth Philharmonic, with the Civic Orchestra of Boston, Motor City Brass Band, New England Brass Band, and the Natural State Brass Band of Arkansas on their championship tour of England. I missed it, I'm afraid. While working, so I expect to see some performances in our future. I don't know about anyone else. While working for the Boston Symphony Orchestra, Keith attended New England School of Law, where he was a member of the Journal of Criminal and Civil Confinement and graduated with his Juris Doctorate. He's a member of the bars of the U.S. Supreme Court, State of New York, and Commonwealth of Massachusetts. He founded a civil and domestic litigation practice in Kingston, Massachusetts, providing advocacy for clients before the District Superior and Appeals Court. We're excited for Keith to continue his Rotary journey. He's highly qualified to be here. I look forward to getting to know him better. Your pin, your four-way test, and can we all welcome Keith?
Welcome, Keith. I would like to give a special thanks to this week's meeting sponsors, Rhonda Hayes with Spirit Bank, Elaine Dishman with Regent Bank, Jeff Hassel with Gable Gottwalls, and Forrest Cameron with Greater Tulsa Reporter. We have a few committee meetings following the meeting today. We have a foundation grants meeting in room 233 and a club foundation development meeting in room 234. In upcoming programs, we have a big slate coming up for you on September 25th. We have Interim President Joseph Harris Jr. from the University of Oklahoma, and October 2nd, Burns Hargis, President of Oklahoma State University. And on October 9th, we'll have an exciting off-site program with Skybridge Learning Institute. This is the partnership that we have been working with since past President Hannibal's presidency last year, where he and Jerry Dillon and Walker Hansen have helped us be involved with TPALS, the Tulsa Police Activities League. So we will be sending a group of Celia Clinton students through the ropes course on that day, and you will not want to miss that. We will join them for lunch there on site so we can see the work that they're doing and where some of our grant money has been going. So make sure and mark that one on your calendar as well. In other announcements, we have a Thirsty Thursday coming up. That is tomorrow at the Gathering Place Boathouse from 5:30 to 7:30. This is our once-a-month social mixer, so just come and have fun. There's no agenda. Just come and see friends and bring friends. We also have an MSNI Workday coming up on Saturday, October 5th from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. Volunteers are needed, so please sign up at the information table out in the foyer. Also, while you're out in the foyer, please don't forget to bid on those amazing OSU and OU tickets that Tim and Barbara Null and We Be Trees have graciously donated to our club. We auction those off every week and are able to give that money back to our foundation. So please be sure to go bid on those. I'd also like to give you a quick update. You might have seen that yesterday we had a press conference at the Gathering Place announcing our new partnership with the Gathering Place with our Rhythm and Brews brunch. And I just wanted to give you a little bit of clarification, just because Monica and I were part of the interview, as was Tony, and of course we were each talking about our parts. So depending on which news clip you saw, whether it was me, Monica, or Tony, or one of the sponsors, you might have just had part of the information. So how it works is our brunch is first, so we're the kickoff for the Tulsa Beer and Wine Festival that Gathering Place is putting on. And as you know, this has continued to grow and evolve as we've done this, and it's gotten really beyond just our club, which is very amazing that we get to partner with them. But I just wanted to make sure that our Rotarians know that 100% of your sponsorship dollars are going right back to our Rotary Club Foundation. All of that will still be with us. And then, of course, the partnership side, where we're partnering with Gathering Place, they're also giving us proceeds, portion of the proceeds from their ticket sales as well. So it's a great day, and I just wanted to make sure that you guys are all up to date on that. And so if you hear that in the news, it's pretty exciting. All the news channels and radio stations were there, and it's very nerve-wracking, but we got through it. At this time, we have a really exciting presentation for you. I'd like to welcome Jerry Stamper for a Rotary Youth Exchange presentation.
Thank you, President Becky. I wanted to, for those that aren't familiar with Rotary Exchange, Rotary Youth Exchange, it ties all the way to the U.S. State Department, and it connects to all the clubs throughout the world. This encompasses close to 7,000 students that leave their homes and come to host country and involve themselves in a new culture, a new language for the entire year. And we have with us a young man from Taiwan, Andy Wu, and he will be attending Bishop Kelly High School and will be coming to our Rotary Club meetings once a month. But want to extend a Rotary welcome to Andy and look forward to seeing him the rest of the year. I think we'd like to exchange. He has a banner from his host club, and we're exchanging that with the Tulsa Club membership.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
too.
I first met Grace Strickland a couple of years ago when I presented to the students at Booker T. Washington regarding our program. After reviewing her application and after her interview before our committee, it was obvious that she was an exceptional student with big dreams and a profound interest in learning about and experiencing other cultures. We further learned that she had a unique capability for language acquisition. She was already fluent conversationally in French, having gone to the Eisenhower Immersion Program and continued those studies throughout her middle school and high school. Also, we learned that a couple of years before learning about our program, she had a little bit of a pivot and began a keen interest in Asian cultures and had self-taught herself the Korean language. Fortunately, we were able to find a spot for her in Japan, which was her passion to go there, and she spent a year there this past year attending an all-Japanese high school. She was the only exchange student attending that school, and she's now returned to us. She commenced her senior year at Booker T. Washington, and she's here today to tell us about her exciting year abroad as a Rotary Youth Exchange ambassador. Grace? Konnichiwa, yokoso.
Hello, everyone. I'm not sure if you're aware of Japanese customs, but I had my hands like this to show my honorable intentions of not slicing his neck. Hello, everyone. My name is Grace Strickland, and last year I spent the full academic year abroad in Japan. I came to Japan on August the 17th to Narita International Airport. I met my host parents and my youth exchange officer and my Rotex friend that I met when he was on exchange in America the year prior. The first 3 days in Japan, I spent at a language boot camp in Utsunomiya with all the other inbound students. All of us inbounds explored Japan for the first time together with a Rotarian. I split my presentation up into 3 parts: my host family, my school life, and my Rotary life. I was located in the Tochigi Prefecture, which is about 1.5 to 2 hours north of Tokyo. My city was Oyama. My prefecture is very famous for having the most delicious strawberries, and each city in Japan has a mascot. My mascot is the Oyama Kuma, because the mouth and the nose is the same kanji for the name of my city. This is the Oyama train station that I would go to every single day on my way to school. And this is my home station, Mamata. I didn't actually live in the city of Oyama. I lived in a suburb called Mamata. And this is my host family's house, where I spent the entire year. This house has become my second home. This is my host family, the Kuriharas. The girl in my lap is my 11-year-old host sister, Pichan, or her real name, Hikari, and the woman next to me is Ai-chan, my host mom. The woman sitting beside her is my 86-year-old host grandma, who did not speak any English, but she was the most sweetest woman I met on my exchange. From left to right in the very back is my host father, my future sister-in-law, my host brother, and my host aunt. My host aunt didn't actually live with me. She lived with her husband in Tokyo. And I'm actually going back to Japan in November for my host brother's wedding. They're flying me in, and we're gonna spend a week together. My host family owns a Panasonic electronic appliance store, and I always got to help out around the store. The Christmas display that you see was one that I did all by myself. Since Christmas is a very important holiday to me, my host family let me be in charge of the window display. These are pictures of some of the first few trips that I took with my host family. The one on the left is when we went on a boat ride in Chichibu. A very popular activity that the Japanese people do are bus trips. They take bus trips all over the place with businesses, your teams, your schools. And on the right is when I went to Utsunomiya with my host family. We saw a 40-foot tall Buddha statue carved into the side of the mountain that was about 1,000 years old. This is when I went to Nikko for the very first time. Nikko is a very historical city in my prefecture. It has many temples and many shrines. The third shogunate actually lived in that area when he had imperial power. My host mom was a nutritionist before she became a worker at my host family's store, which was very good for me because her food was amazing. I miss it all the time. Some of my favorite dishes were shabu shabu and nabe. And shabu shabu is a broth with many vegetables in it. And you take raw meat and you swivel it around in the boiling water, cooking it, and then you dip that into sauce. It sounds somewhat strange, but it is delicious because their meat is so much different from ours. My host mom knew how much I wanted to go to Tokyo, so she planned my very first trip to Tokyo. She hired a tour bus and we went around Tokyo. We went to the Tokyo Tower, we saw a tea ceremony in a hotel, and we went to the Imperial Gardens, ending it at Asakusa. And Asakusa is home of the oldest Buddhist temple in all of Tokyo. One thing my host father and I share are our interest in museums, art, and history. So he took me on a trip to the Western Art Museum in Tokyo, and then later on to the Museum of History at an Edo museum. Edo is a period of time roughly 200 years before current time. My birthday was very, very special because my host sisters made me a homemade cake, and we ate at a friend's restaurant. They closed down the restaurant just for my birthday. They cooked me my favorite foods, which was shabu shabu and sashimi. Sashimi is raw fish, like sushi, just without the rice. No one celebrates Halloween in Japan. It's mostly just a kid's holiday, but they sell lots of decorations at $1 stores. So my host sister and I bought mini decorations and silly costumes, and all of us dressed up for dinner. My host mom made pumpkin soup. Since my host family owns an electronics store, they're often hired to do the sound work at events. And one of these events was a hot air balloon festival. I got to be a staff as well as my host family, so I got to help set up the balloons, and there was hundreds of people coming to ride in the balloon, but being a staff, I got to ride first. For my birthday, my parents, who are sitting over there, they gave me concert tickets to see my favorite group, BTS, and my host family, to help that happen, gave me the gift to go on a trip to Osaka. So my host mom and my host sister, the three of us, we took a trip to Osaka, which is an 8-hour train ride away. Not 8 hours, somewhere along the lines of it. It felt like 8 hours. And we went to the concert. I really wanted to buy some of the merchandise sold at the venue, so my host mom and I took the train, and we sprinted about 2 blocks all the way to the stadium just to buy the goods. That was one of those moments I really knew my host mom cared about me. We also got to go to many of the shopping districts around Osaka and one of the night markets where we had a lot of delicious foods. One of the funnest things that I got to do with my host sister was go to Universal Studios Japan, where we got to ride many roller coasters and other rides. My host sister said that she was okay with roller coasters, but we never actually rode any. We had, they had virtual roller coasters where you're in a machine and it shakes you around while you watch the video, the video so you feel the movement. Christmas was a very special time. Japanese people don't really celebrate Christmas in the traditional way that we do. it's mostly a couple's holiday, but my host family celebrated it just for me. We exchanged presents, and my aunt and uncle, who actually live in Japan, they came and visited, and we had Christmas dinner all together. New Year's is one of the biggest holidays in Japan, and many people eat traditional Japanese New Year's bentos, which is full of different kinds of fish and side dishes and pickles. And all the girls in my house, we dressed up in traditional Japanese New Year's kimonos. It was very fun having a photo shoot and just being goofy. My Rotary Club president gave me a trip to Kyoto, so my host family took me to Kyoto. We went to many of the historical sites, such as the one on the left is of the shrine. It's on a mountain with many, many arches all around it, and each arch represents a year. The name of the shrine is Fushimi Inari Shrine. And on the right is the Golden Temple. My host mom was raised in Kyoto, so she knew a bunch of the best places to go. We had some of the best food, and you know the food's good when there's no other foreigners there, and they look at you funny. One of the most incredible experiences I got to have was when I learned how to play a traditional Japanese drum called a taiko. I got to learn with my host sister from my host aunt. She taught us in 4 months. We went and performed at the Kabukiza in Tokyo in front of an audience of roughly 1,000 people. It was an incredible experience. I've never learned an instrument before, and learning the drums was something that I didn't realize that I loved to do. And I actually have a video of it. I am the girl on the very far left. And that is the setup. The ages were from early elementary to high school. The kids, they could barely sit still for the 15 minutes of the performance. And boy, is it painful to sit in that position. My city has a festival called a Dragon Festival, and it's where all the neighborhoods of the area carry a dragon around from morning till night. And at noon, they go to the local shrine to get blessed from the priest. And once they're blessed, one by one, they go to the pond in front of the shrine to enter the water and to drink and get even more wealth. And then after that, they walk around the neighborhoods until night. But the kids had to leave at 7. My host family knew how much I wanted to go to Disneyland, so they took me on a trip. And it was just as magical as I imagined. It was my very first time ever getting to go to Disneyland because the one in Florida and California is so far away. My school was Oyama Nishi High School, or translated Oyama West High School. My high school was about 25 minutes away by car, but an hour away every morning for me. I rode my bike all the way to my train station, and then rode a train, and then I changed trains, and then I walked a half mile to school every single day. Rain, snow, more rain and snow. It was a very unique experience for me since I'm so dependent upon my parents for transportation. It was very empowering to be in charge of my own transportation. I was in class 1-2 because I was a first year, and I was entering in the second semester of their trimesters. Schools have lots of festivals, but one of the festivals I got to participate in was the school festival, where all the students have their own events. The third years, who are the oldest class, they get to do the sales where they make food and stuff. And the second years, they do the entertainment. So one room is a horror house, the other is a maze, and some others as well. And the first years, we do research assignments, which is not as fun. I got to help I was part of a group that was learning about foreign education in Japan, and I got to make a bunch of posters with all of my friends and draw some pictures. We also got to have a fun party, all of us together, when I got there. We ate some Japanese meat. It was a lot of fun. We ended it with fireworks. My favorite class was cooking class with my favorite teacher, Kishi Sensei. She touched my heart in ways that I didn't expect. We also got to see the Broadway production of The Lion King. It was the first time I saw a Broadway production in a language other than English. And I knew the story, but not the language, so it was pretty interesting. When I graduated in March, I joined the class 2-4, and I was in the class with all the girls that I would eat lunch with. So I had all of my friends with me, and we would not stop talking in class. I joined the flower arrangement club, where I learned the traditional Japanese art of arranging flowers. Oh. I also joined the cooking club with all of my friends. We made many desserts. And my third club was the tea ceremony club, and it is a very disciplined art, and you would not expect how many rules there are, and if you do it wrong, you have to start over. The sports festival was one of my favorite festivals. All of the girls in my class made these posters that you see. We took a photo of our face and then cut it out, and we took them around all day when our class was playing sports. There was a few different sports: volleyball, badminton. I had many friends at school. I was very blessed to have so many friends. And my Rotary Club was Oyama South Rotary, and the picture you see is me exchanging banners with my club president. There was only 3 women in a group of 15. We did many service projects such as Riverside cleanup and making food for at a nursing home. We had many Rotary conferences where all the exchange students had speeches in Japanese in front of audiences of about 1,000 people. The exchange students were fantastic. My closest friend was Aileen from France. There was only 6 of us, 2 from Taiwan, 2 from America, including me, and 1 from Italy and 1 from France. We had 3 trips. The first trip was to Kamakura, a very historical town. We went to many shrines and temples, and the Buddha statue that you see is actually hollow inside, and you get to go inside. The next trip we took was to Tokyo Disney Sea, which is an amusement park specific to Japan. All the characters are Japanese. And the last trip we took was to the multi-district Hakuba ski trip. It was a 3-day trip with people from all over Japan, and we stayed at the same hotel, and it was a very bonding experience, and it was very nice to exchange many conversations with people from all over the world. I'd like to take this time to say thank you so much to the Tulsa Rotary Club for sponsoring me and giving me the best year of my life. 1年間どうもありがとうございました。
Wow. Andy, welcome to Tulsa. We will be excited to see you back at our meetings all year. And Grace, we are so proud of you. You are so poised, and how you fit a whole year's worth of information into that short time, I don't know, but you did a great job. You're smart, intelligent, beautiful, and we're just excited that you got to have this opportunity. I know you'll do great things. And thank you, Tricia and Duff and Jerry, for bringing us these wonderful Rotary Youth Exchange moments. It's very, very neat to see what our young people are doing. At this time, I would like to introduce the Rotarian of the Day, Allison Anthony, President and CEO of Tulsa Area United Way. Allison joined TAUW in August 2017 after serving as president of the Williams Foundation and director of strategic outreach at Williams. She received master's and bachelor's degrees from Oklahoma State University and has completed several leadership training programs, including the Harvard Talent Pipeline Development Program, University of Tulsa Mini MBA, and Senior Human Resources Professional Certification from the Society of Human Resources Management. Please help me welcome Allison Anthony.
Good afternoon. I want to tell you before I introduce our speaker that this time of year I get to give about 3 to 5 speeches a day, and I hear lots of national anthems, and I am proud to say Rotary sings better than anybody. It just warms my heart. It's my honor to introduce you to Dana Weber, who is the chairwoman and of the board of directors and CEO of Webco Industries, and has been with the company full-time in many positions since 1977. But to put a finer point on her experience and her commitment, you should know that Dana started working with the company when she was 13 to be close to her dad, the founder, Webco's founder, Bill Weber. In that time, and on her way to be appointed chairwoman of Webco's board of directors in October of 2018, Dana committed to learning every aspect of the business and previously served as chief financial officer, chief operating officer before being named president of the company in 1995. Along the way, and I've heard Dana speak about this, she was hung up on the phone several times because people would call and think they had the wrong number because a woman surely couldn't be chief operating officer of such a big manufacturing company. But rather than allowing that to discourage her or make her bitter, she continued to be a very positive role model by doing excellent work and proving that indeed women can lead in male-dominated fields because she simply does it beautifully every single day. A double graduate of the University of Tulsa with a Bachelor of Accounting and Juris Doctorate, Dana's continued to position Webco as a leader in invention and innovation, and then backs and strongly supports STEM education in our community to create that next pipeline for future generations. Dana's dad, Bill, set out to create a forever kind of company, and we know you don't see so many of those anymore, but I think we're honored, I know we're honored to have a leader here with us today at Rotary who's capable and committed to making that happen. Please help me welcome Dana Weber.
Well, good afternoon, and thank you so much for asking me to come here today and speak to you. And it is a particular honor to be here on American Women's Business Day, which technically is Sunday, September 22nd, but it's my understanding that Chuck Wilson has so much pull that he got it moved to today. Since my story and Webco's story are intertwined, I'd like to start with a little background on Webco. Webco Industries was founded in 1969 as Southwest Tube Manufacturing Company. Yes, we are happily celebrating our 50th anniversary this year. Our founder, Bill Weber, my father, had been with U.S. Steel's Tubular Products Division for 15 years, and he was frustrated. He was frustrated by the arrogance of U.S. Steel. They didn't just call themselves the steel company, they called themselves the company. And anybody who knew my father, he was anything but arrogant. He was frustrated by their poor customer service and the way they treated customers. They were U.S. Steel. They made steel seamless steel tubing. And if we happen to make what you want, great. If not, too bad. So he was customer service oriented. He went to the customer's plants and he understood exactly how the customer wanted the tubing to work. Then he figured out where at U.S. Steel the tubing was going to be made. And he went to that tubing plant, that manufacturing plant at U.S. Steel, and he got to know the workers on the floor. And he convinced them to make the tubing the way the customer wanted and when the customer wanted. And that was how he found a way to instill customer service in U.S. Steel. But it was frustrating for him. So he was at a sales meeting one day, and there was a lot of salespeople from around the country, and he was talking to a salesman that was particularly more seasoned and grousing about these issues he was facing. And this salesperson turned to him and said, "Bill, every person in this room feels the same way you do. The question you need to ask yourself is, are you the one person in this room that's going to do something about it?" And he took that to heart and he thought about that and he remembered that. So the next thing that happened is he could see technology was changing. U.S. Steel made nothing but seamless, and he could see that welded technology, which was of poor quality at that time, but he said it was improving and he knew someday that was going to be important. So he went and asked the company to look into welded technology. So they gave him the task of developing a business plan for moving into welded technology. And he developed that business plan and he presented it to them. They ended up rejecting that business plan but it became the foundation for Webco several years later. So a few years later, believing that he could do it better, he left U.S. Steel, moved his family to Tulsa, Oklahoma. We were in Texas at the time. See, people from Texas do move to Oklahoma. He took a 40% cut in pay and started his own company. So this slide kind of talks a little bit about our decades of evolution. Of course, we started up in '69, and basically it was just the foundation, the beginning. In the '70s, we called our, I can't read that, but basically we were evolution as beginning, it's establishing our foundation. So we backward integrated into welding technology, and we also expanded our brand into other products, expanded our product lines into other products beyond pressure tubing. And then in the '80s, we moved into more technology. We expanded our brand further, went into new products, and we went into distribution because, frankly, our distribution business customers had gotten so difficult to deal with that we lost nothing by going into competition with them. And then in the '90s, we went public in 1994. We further expanded our product development and product innovation. And in 1999, we implemented SAP ERP system, which was quite a challenge. And expanded our product offering. And then in the 2000s, in 2000s and plus, we really just continued to expand our product range. We expanded every facility. We've added facilities. And we've also continued to invest in our people, our technology, and just getting stronger all the way. And we'll continue to do that. And really, I think, focus on our kind of more formalizing our education of our employees and really trying to ensure that everybody understood our culture. So today, we've grown, and we're now $500 million in sales, a little under 1,400 employees. We have 5 manufacturing facilities in other locations, and we're probably the most diverse tubing manufacturing company in the United States, in North America, actually. We're in a wide array of industries that we serve. This just kind of gives you a little bit of a perspective in all those industries. We manufacture seam-welded carbon steel tubing, alloys, nickel alloys, titanium. We also do drawn-over mandrel of welded and seamless, and we have distribution facilities and for the pressure tubing markets. And then with our P&J subsidiary, we have distribution for some of our original equipment manufacturers. This just kind of shows a little bit of our diversity of our locations. The red dots are our manufacturing companies. The green and teal dots are our value-added distribution, and the blues are our sales offices. And this slide just adds the waterways, which says that we're strategically positioned along the waterways, and so are our suppliers. And even though the McClellan-Clure navigational system wasn't in place in 1969, Dad knew about it, and he knew it would be important, and it has. It's one of the reasons why we selected Tulsa. This just kind of gives you a little bit of pictures of an overview of our 5 manufacturing facilities and one of our value-added facilities, just to kind of give you a little bit of breadth on Webco. And that's it. So that's it on the background on Webco. So I told you a little bit about my dad's background, but I'd like to tell you a little bit about my mom's, because she was also very important to who I am. My mother was born a generation too soon. She grew up in a time when there were limited opportunities for women in business. And yet she was very smart, and she was way ahead of her time, and she became the first female executive secretary at U.S. Steel. Now let's think about today. That was an accomplishment for a woman in her time. She believed women should be strong and independent, and she drilled this into her 3 daughters, along with the importance of education. So when my dad started Webco, she was by his side every step of the way. They were partners in everything. She worked at the company until we went public in 1994. And one day in the early 1980s, she walked into my dad's office, and he was sitting there working on something, and she stands there like this. And he looked up and said, "Yes, Marty?" And he said, "Bill, I have been doing my research, and do you know that in some cases, we pay women up to 20% less than we pay men for doing the same job, and they have better reviews? That's wrong. Fix it." So he did. And interestingly enough, he found out when he asked the question about why, they said, well, because he's supporting a family and she's just earning shopping money. Think about it. That was the mentality just in the 1980s. And he made very clear that everybody had to understand that's not how we make decisions, and we put processes in place to prevent that in the future. But that was my mom. That gives you a flavor of who she was. So I'd like to now move a little bit about my story, but I'd like to give you from the perspective of kind of a lessons learned. I've been around long enough. I've had lots of lessons. I'm going to try to highlight at least a few of them. The first one, I think, is what I would call my education work ethic lesson. As I told you, my mom really instilled in us the value of education. So she said, start with a strong foundation, and then just work as hard as you can, do the best you can. So as you heard, I started working at 13 because I wanted to be around my dad. And then at 14, I'd fallen in love with the company by then and decided that at 14 I wanted to major in accounting because I like math, and then go on to law school. I don't know if that was a magic button, but I liked it and it stuck with it. Not to practice law, but to be a good foundation. And frankly, it has been a very great foundation for me. But I believe that learning is a lifetime endeavor. So 3 years later, I went to the Harvard program, executive management program, and that was outstanding. And then I went to OSU and studied industrial engineering. And even now, at every opportunity, I jump at the chance to learn something, whether it's through a conference or a course that we teach at WebCo, or even just a book that I get the chance to read. It's just as important to be for your work ethic, and I always wanted to be the absolute best at everything I did, no matter what it was assigned, no matter how small or how big the task was. But I believe it's a combination of that education and work ethic that makes a big difference. And we have many employees at WebCo today that have far exceeded what their education would normally have projected their success simply because of their outstanding work ethic. My second lesson learned from my lifetime is always treat everyone with respect. This value was exemplified by my dad. Being smarter or more educated doesn't make you better, it makes you fortunate. This is one of the reasons why our first tagline as a company was where people make the difference. We have always valued all of our employees, and we value our suppliers and our customers equally. In 2004, we had annual fixed price contracts for most of our steel supply and many of our customers also. In the beginning of that year, early in that year, prices on steel went from $300 a ton to $1,500 a ton in a matter of months. Most of our suppliers, they had no choice, declared force majeure and started charging market rates. And we tried to do that. We couldn't succeed with all of our customers. We did that with some of ours too. We had one supplier that did not raise their prices. They stuck to the contract. We went to them and said, you're the only one that hasn't, and we will accept you. We will accept a price increase if you want to issue it. It may not have been a smart thing for us financially, but it was the right thing to do. And it's because we respected our suppliers. My next lesson is in integrity. It takes a lifetime to earn your reputation. It takes a day to lose it. My dad always instilled that in us. Always act with integrity. As I mentioned, we survived many tough business cycles, sometimes only because of the financial support we received from our suppliers. And many of them came to me after my dad passed and told me, we never extended off credit like that to any of our other customers. But he was your dad. We trusted him. What a lesson in the value of integrity. And then in 1994, about 6 months after we went public, we had to issue a restatement of our quarterly results. That was fun. We did a roadshow. We meeting with any investor who wanted to meet with us and explain what happened. Frankly, most of them started out by yelling at us. They told us a lot of things they thought about what we were doing. They were mad. They had every reason to be mad. But before we left, in every single case, they shook our hands and thanked us and said they can't believe we actually came out and spoke to them face to face and told them what happened, that it was apparently not very usual. My next lesson was always fight waste. During our first 25 years, we survived many tough business cycles, as I've said. It's human nature to be frugal during good times, and it's human nature to start being wasteful during good times. So we have this story we call the paperclip story. Anytime things get good and we start to get a little bit careless, we just say, paperclips, and we all know it's time to be careful again. Self-confidence was another lesson. When I went to Harvard, it was in 1986, and I was in my 20s, and most of the people there were in their 40s and 50s, had more experience than I did, and came from global companies instead of a small manufacturer in Oklahoma, so I was intimidated. What I found when I went there was nobody knows everything, and everybody has something to contribute. And if you just have the self-confidence to step up and make that contribution, you can make a difference. The other lesson I learned from this is to surround yourself with smart people with complementary skill sets and listen to them. So whenever I can't tell you how many times I've made an important decision, and before I make that decision, I turn and ask my people that I'm around, what do you think? And I can't tell you how many times I've changed my mind and come out with a better decision because of their input. The next one is don't fight bias head on. Instead, to work to change people's perspective. It takes longer, but it's lasting. So I'd like to share a couple of experiences from when I was growing up in a very male-dominated steel industry. First one is, of course, you heard the story about the phone call. That did happen several times in my life. Next one I'd like to talk about is in the early days, when I started in management, I started going to industry conferences in the steel industry, and I was the only woman there during the day in the meetings. In the evenings, we had events, social events with the spouses, and I very quickly realized that while I was actually relatively well expected by men, kind of an anomaly, they might have walked around me, but they accepted me. When I went to those evenings, their spouses were staring at me like, who is this person, and didn't know what to think. So even though I wanted to talk shop with the guys, I went over and spent every night with their spouses, talking to each one of them and letting them know that I was not a threat and they had nothing to worry about. It really served me well. Another one that I have is what I call my bad boss story. You might think working for my father's company that I wouldn't have a bad boss, but I did. I don't know if he was difficult to be with because I was female or if it was because I was, my dad's daughter, but nothing I ever did was good enough. And he did everything he can to make my life miserable. And literally threatened to fire me at least once a month. True. Now, I knew that as long as I was really doing my job, that I didn't have to worry about that. But I got to thinking about that. How many other people have a boss like that and don't have that security? So from that, I took away, it's my job as a manager to make sure that I never allow somebody to find themselves in that position. My last area, next to last, I guess, is to recognize how far we've come and that our work isn't done. Most women and some men work hard every day but are not self-promoters. Historically, self-promoters get opportunities first. So we've talked to our management team and our HR and said, it's our responsibility to look beyond the self-promoters and see who's doing a good job and who deserves an opportunity and pull them up and pull them forward. A lot of them are women, but not just women. Sometimes there are also men that don't self-promote. So I think we do that very well today. So my final lesson is how attitude makes such a difference in your quality of life. I've been blessed throughout my life, but that doesn't mean I haven't had challenges. But I've learned that every time something bad happens, something even better emerges from the ashes. It's not always apparent at first. Sometimes it takes a while to be able to see that, but it always happens. I have two examples, a personal example and a business example. The personal example is I went through a serious illness in '95. I was in ICU for 7 days, and they had me on dopamine. And I think as a result of that, my serotonin production, which is in some gland in your brain, I don't understand medical, wasn't working when I came out, and I went through a period of depression. I was fortunate, in 2 years, my body readjusted and I started producing the serotonin on my own again. But that lesson taught me of what it feels like to be going through a mental challenge, an emotional mental challenge, mental disorders, and increased my understanding and empathy with people with mental disorders 100-fold. You just never know what lessons are going to teach you. In the business example, we rarely gain market share during good cycles, good business cycles. Our best opportunities for growth come during challenging periods and as we emerge from down cycles. So that concludes my remarks today. I want to thank you, everybody here. It's been an honor to be here today. And we only have a couple minutes, but I'll answer any questions somebody might have. Yes. Yes.
Do you see any impact of President Trump's trade activities on your business?
Yes. But we have mixed results from trade because that's always what happens, but it's more positive than negative. I know there's been complaints about a trade war. Technically, the steel industry has been in a trade war for 40 years. Trump is the first president that has ever actually tried to do anything about it. And so it has its challenges, it has its problems, But frankly, I think he's doing the right thing because he is, for the first time, standing up to a country that has never had anybody challenge them. Yes? I would say it was our management team in general wanting to do this. The public company idea was something we never thought about, but it actually served us very well. But when Sarbanes-Oxley came into law and we were facing that, we looked at it was going to cost us $1.5 million to $2 million the first year and $1.5 million every year after that. We were a small company. The market, we're not a sexy company. We had no intentions of raising more money through the public markets. And so it made more sense for us to take it private and avoid some of those costs. We still have float, but we're not on the public stock exchange, and so we've avoided a lot of those costs. And frankly, I think it was the right decision for us. Yes?
Your website says that your term as director will end in February 2021. Are you planning to retire then?
The nicest way I can say that is I have absolutely no thoughts of retiring at that point in time. But keep in mind, I am not my father. He retired on the day he died at 92. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to say that, but I don't have any specific time period when I'm thinking about it. You know, when we went public, one of the questions, he was 67, we were going through the roadshow and we were going public. And people started asking us if he was going to retire. And we both looked at them and go, why would he want to retire? And it wasn't until probably the third or fourth time somebody said that when all of a sudden we went, oh, yeah, he is after 65, isn't he? But he was a dynamo all the way to the end, and I'm not sure I'm him, but I'm not in any hurry to get there. Yes?
Can you tell us differences in recruiting, training, keeping people, and how that's changed over the decades?
Well, first of all, I think we always used to assume that people got on-the-job training, they came and they just learned and absorbed on their own. And as time has gone by, we realized that, number one, we need more formal training, and that, frankly, there's a lot of things that we need people to know that they weren't coming out of either school or university having. So we have developed a lot of formal training programs, and it goes well beyond, you know, work-associated things. We teach people interactions, how to communicate, how to conduct a meeting, how to resolve conflicts. I mean, it's really personal life skills. We teach people, you know, throughout our company, we teach them on how to manage their finances. You know, we really reach far beyond just what they need to do their job every day to what makes them stronger as a person, as well as realizing that we have to continuously develop the next generation of leaders. And so we try to extend training throughout the organization at all levels to try to help everybody have an opportunity to succeed and grow. And I would say that, I don't know if it was because we were smaller or if it's the way that everybody's changed, but that definitely has changed for us. Yes?
What's the one thing that you would say to someone who's looking to start their own manufacturing plant? The most important thing to know.
What in a manufacturing plant?
Who's looking to start their own?
Oh, well, you know, Dad will tell you, would have told you that starting a manufacturing company today is a lot harder than it was when he did, because frankly the regulations are so much heavier than they were. But one thing is, and obviously any company, not just manufacturing, you need to make sure you have solid financial backing, because it takes a while to build that momentum, and there are hiccups and there are things that happen, and it's going to take more. No matter how much you think you have, it's going to take more. So make sure you got that solid financial backing. The second thing I think is surround yourself with smart people. You won't know everything. You need smart people to be there with you. And the third thing I would say is most people are good entrepreneurs and starting things, but transitioning to being a leader and a manager is not so easy. If you have that capability, great. My dad was rare, he did. If you don't, make sure you recognize when it's time to bring that leader in so that they can take you to the next level.
Thank you, Dana. That was amazing. And I'd love to hear from trailblazers like Dana and her mom, and actually her dad as well, who have gone before the young professionals today and made possible what we're doing today. We would like to present a book in Dana's name to our partner school, Celia Clinton. We have been working on for years for building their library. Today's book that Dana has inscribed for us is What Do You Do with an Idea? Rotarians, you are amazing, you are wonderful, you are agents of change. Now go change the world.